moms, we're excited to announce Playdate and Tell, where the coffee's never hot, the kids are always loud, and the moms, well, we've got opinions. This is the part of Truth Moms where we invite true moms, because motherhood doesn't come with a filter, so neither do we. We're diving into the real, raw, hilarious, and sometimes, holy crap, how are we still standing world of motherhood. So whether you're in the carpool, or stepping over Legos, or in the middle of a meltdown, grab your lukewarm latte, hide in the bathroom if you have to, and let's get into it. Our first Playdate and Tell is with Very Cavallari alumni, Kaylee. Originally from the Midwest, Kaylee moved to Nashville in 2012. Her and her wife, Suze, are moms to Vincent, who's almost 2. Her passion, cultivating community around motherhood.
Well, welcome back to Truth Moms. Today we have my dear friend and somebody who's walked, like we talk about parallel lives of us. Kaylee and I have walked parallel lives quite a bit. We just decided in this series, we were calling it Playdate and Tell. Aww. And the reason why we're doing this series is because we wanted to talk to everyday moms about stuff. I think, we talk to each other all the time. It feels like, 2 moms having a day out. And the same thing when we do these interviews, it's great. We get to learn a lot, but we don't really talk to moms and what they're going through and like their experiences. And that's the whole point. I think that we started Truth Moms was really to like have a conversation and maybe things that we don't necessarily like meet in our everyday lives to like think about, right? Because we're so concerned about food and development and pregnancies and things like that we're not necessarily like, well, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why we brought Kaylee on. And Kaylee is a mom. How old is Vince now?
She'll be 2 in June.
Oh, and almost 2-year-old.
Yeah.
We're hitting the toddler area.
We are there. But every day it feels like she learns something new and you see her figure something new out. And that is just the best.
What's your favorite part of motherhood?
Ooh. I think just watching her grow and learn things, like we're big into music. So she goes to multiple music classes every week. Yeah. And just from like the first class that we went to when she was like 6 months old and picking up like a shaker or something to now she's like, no, I want the tambourine today or the triangle today. And her figuring out how to move her body different ways and climbing, everything. I love being a mom.
What's so crazy is, so Kaylee, I had River and we would kind of like, she would do these paint classes and these music classes and we kind of like maneuvered around each other. We were doing the same things. But it's funny because River hated music class.
Oh,
really?
Sure.
And so you don't really know until you get your kid in this and you're like, and the reason why she hated it is River doesn't like big crowds and loud sounds.
Yep.
So because there was more than 10 kids and there was tambourines going everywhere, it overwhelmed her.
Yeah.
But she does love music. So now she's into like dancing and singing. But as a baby, she was like, absolutely not. Get me out of here. Yeah. So it's interesting to see like, they truly are little individuals.
Oh,
yeah,
completely.
Completely.
Yeah. Or even just learning, like you said with the art, Vincent loves to do projects, but she has to have wide open spaces to do them. So we do a lot of outside art versus like inside class sitting in a seat. That's just not for her. I mean, she's not even 2, but you guys know what it's like to try to wrangle a toddler to do something that...
Especially in your house.
Yeah, you think they should do, but they're like, no.
Yeah, I'll never forget. There was one time I was a little bit offended. I had a friend that introduced me as like the hippie mom with the wild child. And then I finally am like... Yeah,
there she is.
Down there. Yeah, and I just realized like that's just who cares because what would be offensive is saying that and I'm trying to be something other than that. And I think at that moment I was trying to fight the fact that I wanted the feral child. Like, childhood is so fleeting. I literally, when we had Lennon, I literally looked at Lennon and River, and it's true. You look at your older one, and you go, "Holy shit, you're 3." And that is 3 years ago. And like even Lennon, like you were like, I saw her last week. She's a totally different baby
huge now.
Right? They grow so fast and so furious. And like the age of the internet, like there are things that they are learning that I'm like, River comes home. I'm like, where did you hear that?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the craziest part is when they say something or when he says something to me and I'm just like, where did you learn this?
Right.
Like, I did not teach you this. Like, what is going on? And you're just like trying to rack your brain, but they're little sponges. Yeah. It's insane.
So with childhood being so quick, I think it's okay to be a little feral. 100%. I think it's okay to need wide open spaces. I'm just never going to be the perfect mom, and that just
ever.
I'm not the perfectionist mom.
I don't think anyone is.
They call it the tidy mom.
Yeah. Well, I think you go into motherhood thinking that it's going to be one thing. And I was raised by a teacher and had a very like structured childhood. And not that wasn't great. I feel like I am a well-rounded adult and person, but like, like even talking about the art class, my idea for Vincent to go into this class at 1.5 and sit down and do the entire 30-minute project, you realize very quickly, that's not our vibe. That's not, also that's not what's important. You want them to, we're like working on gross motor skills. As long as she's holding a crayon, I'm happy.
Yeah. Well, I was just listening to a podcast. Dr. Brooks is talking about the signs of happiness. And I'm going to throw this back into motherhood as well. And it came out that there is 50% of your happiness is actually genetic, which is kind of scary.
That's wild.
It's wild. But I feel like a part of like who you are as a mother also, because you're saying that, and all I'm thinking of is when River doesn't play ball, like when she doesn't sit at the table correctly, right? I immediately get, not shame is incorrect because I want her to do, it's this feeling in me. And it came to fruition, like it literally came up when I went home that, somebody had mentioned, oh, well, River's not like you. You were a good girl. Like you were so good when you were little, like, right? And I thought about it and I was like, wow, is this, happiness being genetic as in like, you're predisposed to what people are, right? Whether it's the gossip drama train or, this airy happiness. And I think sometimes I apologize for River. And I remember this moment, we were in Philly. We were at this like little Bluey camp thing. And oddly enough, it was a 2-mom group too. They were the sweetest that could be. And what they said to me was, because I remember she got off of something weird and I was like, I'm so sorry. And she was like, she's fine.
Yeah.
And I almost needed them there because my mom was running around with her like, River, no River, no River, no River. And they were like, she's a toddler.
Yeah.
She's okay. You almost needed that, Mom.
This is exactly what she's supposed to be doing.
But and so I guess what I'm saying is I know that I want to be the chill, cool mom, but there are some things that are just so instilled in me from 100%. Being a kid that like I feel like I'm failing if my mom sees her not doing something, right? Just because of that reference, like you were the good kid.
I feel like that's what's so special about our age of parents, though, is that we can, maybe for like the 30 seconds, you're like, no, don't do that. And then we're like, no.
Yeah.
Right. Reel it in. Yeah. They're 2 years old. This is exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Go run.
Well, hasn't it been proven that like circle time, like sitting in a circle at like a certain age or that young, like really is not supposed to be happening. Like we cannot like expect.
Well, they don't have the attention span.
No, they don't. Like to sit there and listen to an entire story at like 2 years old. Like that's not what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be getting up, learning outside, running around, playing, like bare feet. Like that's what I envision childhood like. Like those pictures that Addie sends us when we're recording the podcast. And it's just like that is the embodiment of childhood, to me at least. I mean,
I think I definitely get those moments too when we're at, like we try to leave the house every day. So whether we're at a class or a play date or whatever, and sometimes it seems like everyone else's child sits in their lap and listens to story time. And mine is just over here, over there. The other day at the library, we got kind of reprimanded because she was like, they had this stack of little like mats that the kids can sit on. And Vincent was like pulling them out and she got reprimanded by the storytime teacher at the library. And I was like, okay, she's literally behind us in a corner being so quiet, just like moving her body because she's not a sit still girl. And if that's not okay, we're just done with story time then. Like you outgrow some things and you try to move with their development and their learning with the things that we do that have a little more structure. But I think I'm with you there. And also, they're supposed to be moving around. Let them move.
And also I think that people don't realize is this is a constant experiment for us. Like when you're talking about age appropriate, like I realize, because I have the quote unquote feral child, she's not ready for a restaurant. And the only way I realized that was I tried to take her to a restaurant. And it didn't work out. Right. Like we have to test these things and at the same time allow their childhood to develop. And I think that we just run the world has this expectation that everybody needs to appropriate in society, and that's just not how children are.
But it's also like other people's vision of that. Because if I saw you at a restaurant or if I saw you at a restaurant and I'm at the restaurant too, hey, we're all in this together.
We're in it together.
Right.
And
do you need a book? Do you need a car? I've got crayons. Like, what do you need? And I just think that when we were growing up, our parents didn't have that like camaraderie with other parents because you know, you went to school, you got married, you had kids, and it was just like this list of things to do, where now I feel like any decision that we make regarding parenting, and even the idea to have kids, is so intentional.
Yeah.
You know, not for everybody, obviously, but it makes such a difference to have people who are in the same boat.
Yeah. I mean, talk about because your journey is IVF, right?
Yeah.
So, and I mean, talk about intentional. Like, what is that journey like?
We started, when we knew that we were ready to have a baby, we started with IUI, actually. So most people are pretty familiar with that. So that's where you take the sperm and they insert it into your uterus around the time of ovulation. And that we did 6 months of that, no conception, no positive tests, and then very quickly pivoted to IVF.
Yeah.
Which is a big difference and a big change.
Yeah. I always see people with like a big thing of needles.
Yeah.
Right. So what
you want me to
that?
go through like the whole process?
Yeah. Tell me, because it's interesting to me. One, because I just was watching online how controversial it is with the political climate that we're in right now. But also, it's just like, I don't know what these moms are going through, because I know I just know the quick mind of trying to get pregnant, like, you know, the old school way, and just that 3 or 4 month thing of like, oh, it's negative. Oh, it's negative. Right. And then now I'm adding on another layer of the egg retrieval, I don't even know what those needles do.
Right. So to start, it's obviously so individualized between people who are trying to get pregnant. For us, obviously, 2 women, we don't have an endless supply of sperm. So it all sort of starts with getting sperm.
Okay, how do you do that?
You go online and you order it.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Do you do you have like a book or anything of seeing,
you guys,
like, who your donor is?
Crazy.
Though?
So, I mean,
is this the Wild Wild West or what?
It's literally the Wild West. So think about all of the things that you're doing trying to conceive. You're like eating correctly. You're taking CoQ10. You're swallowing your magnesium by the bucket.
Horse pills.
You're doing all the things that you can do to prep your body. So step 1 is finding a donor. They're just websites. So there are a handful of the sperm banks, I guess. Did
you ever consider, because I like Sloan, right? Him and I talked a long time ago about me being a surrogate, and I just happened to get pregnant, so I couldn't, you know. So did you ever think about the friend route, or was it always like you wanted to?
No, we didn't, and I think that's just like personal choice. My vibe was like, I don't want to ever bump into you, even if we're like kind of close, not close, really close. I just don't ever want to like run into you at Kroger and be like, oh, you look just like my kid who's sitting in the buggy. So it just was like, we were never going to go somebody that we know.
That makes sense.
And I think that's a massive ask of someone.
Yeah.
Because with like surrogacy, no part of it is genetically related to you most of the time. Most of the time, you know, you would do egg retrieval of someone, sperm of someone, make an embryo, and then that embryo goes inside of you. So you don't have like a genetic bond.
But you have like a mental bond, right?
Yeah. I would think so now, having carried a child, but I think that's like a whole different ballgame.
I agree, because before I was pregnant with River, I was like, oh, I could totally do that, because truly I was at a point in my life where I didn't think I was going to end up with anyone, and I didn't think I was going to be married, and I was like, you know what? The next natural step for me is to like give someone that gift that I can't have.
I have a friend who did it, and she's got now 3 of her own, a stepson, and did a surrogacy. She was a NICU nurse, and she was a surrogate for a family who lost a baby that was under her care. I mean, she's a phenomenal person, and I know that she's still really close to the family and was able to do that, but couldn't be me.
Yeah, I originally thought I could. I would have no problems. I could dissociate, and now once River came out, and then
you
now
have to go through a bunch of like evaluations to be able to be a surrogate. And I wouldn't pass a single one.
Now knowing what it entails, I definitely would have not. Yeah.
What kind of psychological stuff?
Though? I'm sure it's just like a list of questions that, you know, I had such bad postpartum that now thinking about having those feelings and not having the baby, I just couldn't.
There's a random story that I just came through like in circle friend groups of a mom that had an addiction. I don't know what drug it is, but because of that, her parents were trying to get her to give up this baby. And so they had the whole idea that she was going to go through this, and then at the hospital she was going to have a private adoption go through, or be awarded the state. Day one comes out and she's like, no.
Yeah.
Right. And because you have, I really truly think it is so individual, because maybe some people can, but I just don't know how you see this tiny little baby come out of you, a part of you.
Well, it's like those miracle stories that you hear of people who are addicted, and then they see their baby, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's the last day. You know, they've never touched a substance again because it's like the miracle or whatever.
Yeah. So,
but anyway, so you go to the sperm bank, and there are like lots of levels to this, which this is like the most interesting part of it. And the most interesting part to share with people is that you can, well, first of all, you have to pay to even be a member to a sperm bank.
Okay.
So
what's that initial cost?
It ranges from like $200 on some sites to like $550, $600 on other sites.
So you're already in this about
like a country
$1,000
club.
before you even started.
Well, and I mean, obviously viewers don't know me, but Brittany, you know me. We are looking across like 8 sperm banks. You know, I'm not just going to limit myself to one particular area. So
I think that's a good actual advice too.
Right.
You can't limit yourself, and which is why this process is so expensive. It's incredible. So in order to even get to see profiles of people, so it's basically like a dating website.
Yeah.
You're seeing height, hair color, eye color, maybe like their job. Level of education is like level 1. So let's say that's $1,000 to purchase sperm from this level 1 donor. You don't get to see any photos. You never know their real name, but you don't, nothing other than what they went in and like checked off the day they donated.
It's like Baby is Blind.
Yes.
Oh, have you guys seen the new Black Mirror episode?
No, I can't watch that show.
Okay,
It's
never
like
mind.
it's
But
like a
basically,
mental.
this is what it sounds like. They have like different levels, and they'll unlock things, and that's how they get you with their money. And it just reminds me of that. If you guys know what I'm talking about, it is.
It's like it feels like a money scheme.
The
whole thing. So that's level 1. Then level 2, maybe they've got some childhood photos, and then they might give you like a writing sample so you can see what their handwriting looks like, and that's $1,300.
This is just at one bank, remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're already $1,300
and this
in.
is one vial of sperm is $1,300 with the name, eye color, hair color, childhood photograph. $1,300 for a vial of sperm.
What about medical data? Like this
No,
person
we don't get any
cancer,
of that yet.
Nothing.
None of that yet.
Wow.
And,
I feel like that should be the first thing.
Maybe they might say both my grandparents are living. One of my grandparents died from cancer, whatever.
But it's not consistent.
No, it's not. None of it is consistent. And then the highest level, you're maybe getting childhood photos, adult photos, medical history, familial medical history.
And what's that cost?
Like $2,000. Yeah.
Okay.
So for 6 months of IUI, you're spending, because you inseminate 2 days over your ovulation cycle, just like you would try to time things.
But that's 2 vials.
So that's 2 vials.
So that's $4,000.
So that's $4,000.
Wow. And that's IUI. So we haven't even gotten into the land.
And you did
IUI.
6 months of IUI?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to do the math in my head.
So it's 2 vials of trial over the 6 months you did it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 12 vials.
Yep. And then 1 month.
I know.
1 month.
And those didn't work.
Didn't work.
Why?
And then there was 1 month too. So like
and
a
none
7th
of
month.
none of it's covered by insurance.
No, not an ounce. And 1 month we shipped the sperm. I ended up not ovulating. So then you have to send it back, but you already purchased it. So now it's just.
Wait, why do you just send it back?
Well, what am I going to do with it?
That's true.
Wait, because it doesn't last. It doesn't. It wouldn't last until the next round.
No. So you're just.
So you have to play.
Toodaloo.
You have to play financier,
you guys,
scientist,
when I'm telling you,
and mathematician all at the same time.
Yeah.
So it comes in these massive cryo tanks. Gets delivered by UPS or FedEx, which also costs money depending on the delivery method.
Because it's not free shipping for sperm.
No. So one day, you're going to, and remember, your doctor appointment after doctor appointment, ultrasound after ultrasound. Okay, we see the egg for ovulation, and some months you're doing medicine to help you ovulate or to release the egg at a certain time or whatever. But I'm like calling the FedEx guy. Okay, I'm at work. I need you to deliver this now. I have to be at the doctor's office by 11 a.m. in order to get inseminated within this window.
Yeah. My kid, wait, hold on a second. My kid thinks you're an angel. She's just like literally endlessly smiling at her.
You're an angel.
She's just watching her talk.
She's so chatty.
I know. She's very chatty. But she loves you. I mean, she
so you're
calling
you're like running around all of Nashville, picking up the sperm, meeting the FedEx guy, going to the doctor's office, hoping that it's the right day, right time.
Also, is it the same donor each time?
It can be. For us, it
was. Okay, thankfully, because it's not an unlimited amounts.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's another thing. So let's say best case scenario, you find a donor you like, all of their whatever checks all the boxes that you're looking for. He might have one vial, but you have to inseminate twice during each cycle. So you can't go with that guy now because you only have one vial versus two.
So you literally are playing
roulette. It's like you're on the website. Okay,
like do they have remaining vials? Like, does it say that?
Yep.
Oh wow.
So sometimes, so do you? If he's got 8, do you buy all of them and hope that at some point within those 8 vials it works, or do you only buy 2, hoping that you get pregnant this month? But what if you don't get pregnant this month, and then next month and it's gone?
And then you have to
what did you end up doing?
So we did. During IUI was when we bounced around donors the most. So we had, I think maybe over those 6 months, we tried with 3 different donors.
Okay.
Because, you can't help but get that hope that every time you're like, whatever.
And talk about your wife at this stage. Like, was she? I mean, because obviously you're mentally going through it because we all know what peeing on the stick feels like.
Yes.
And you're like hoping, right?
Yes.
Like, what was her?
Oh, I mean, it's the same, just up and down. And I think that for women too, like Suze is so maternal too, that for her, I think it kind of, we like meshed into one person at the time too, because you're just like, Yeah. And gals are just different than guys, I think. Your emotions are so in it.
Yeah.
And, I'm setting reminders.
I feel that.
She's like doing everything that she can. She's setting my prenatals out, making sure the water's full, doing all the things that your partner is supposed to do for you. And it sucks when it's let down after let down.
Yeah. You feel like you're letting them down.
Yep.
And it's probably even more emotional because you two are, I mean, not to like sit here and stereotype, but women, like I feel like men just compartmentalize and move on a little bit more.
I mean, and truly, even we can, because I feel like when you don't get pregnant right away, a lot of times you're like, his sperm didn't work, right? Like it's easy to blame. It's just easy to like make fun of it and blame, but when you guys are like so intentional on it, it's emotional, right?
And there is that added factor of like the finance of it too. We're X grand deep at this point.
Man, that math.
Yeah.
And, okay, so then IVF.
Yeah. So we move into IVF.
So 6 months goes by and you're like, IVF.
It's not working.
What is that? What ballpark? How much that costs?
IVF or the IUI part?
I've heard different.
Rounds of IVF?
Yeah, like a rounding consists of.
Goodness, we only needed 1 round. Like we are so lucky compared to some people, who do round after round. You guys, I honestly don't know. Maybe 60?
$60,000.
I thought it was like 30.
With all the medication, egg retrieval, it's different state by state.
I was going to say, here's the problem with IVF and IUI and all that stuff is that insurance may or may not cover it.
And your doctor can charge whatever they want for whichever part of the process that they want.
There's no standardized care for fertility.
Yes.
At all.
None. So I have friends, back home in Iowa who are paying one thing, and we are here in Nashville specifically paying another thing. We're like, maybe in Memphis it's different or Knoxville it's different.
I have a girlfriend who has my favorite poke place in Nashville if you guys ever go to. It's called Gotcha Poke. She is Thai, and she told me, she was like, I had to go home because it's 1/3 of the cost. It's just as good. It's the exact same process. It's just 1/3 of the price. So to fly to Thailand, get it done, and stay there for a month was less expensive than being at home and getting shut up in your hometown.
It doesn't shock me at all. That's crazy. And like how many like months does that cover? Is that just 1 month?
Well, it's months. IVF takes months of preparation.
Okay, so walk us through that.
So we stopped, we started our first round of IUI was in February, and our last one was August, I think.
Okay.
And that was the same month that we decided we're moving to IVF. So we jumped straight into it.
Okay.
So the first little bit is prepping your body for egg retrieval. So you're on all of these hormones and medications to make you grow a ton of eggs or mature. We all have all of our eggs, so you're not growing new eggs, but you're you want them to be big in the size that they need to be.
So you're basically cultivating egg retrieval here,
Yeah.
and so and it's not just one egg they take out. So
Multiple,
these
as
drugs
many
are
as they
pushing.
can.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
okay.
Yep. So you're taking medication in order to mature as many eggs as possible to have them removed.
What are the risks of like fallopian issues?
It's
Because that's a lot
all
of eggs
over
at
the
once,
place.
right?
I mean, you get completely swollen. I could, even still today, so this is 3 years post IVF. Anytime I'm on my period, anytime I'm ovulating, I can feel each of my ovaries because they're now just so sensitive. And I don't know, this might be the same for other women who have been pregnant and had kids too. I don't know if you guys experience this, but I can literally tell like, oh, I'm ovulating on this side this month, or this egg is, this side is a little like more tender.
I only know after I have my cramps which side it is. I wouldn't know ahead of time, but it is wild how much more you pay attention to when you go through.
So you just you're maturing all of these eggs, and there's all these risk factors. They can rupture.
Right.
Your
which would be an equivalent to an ectopic.
yes.
Okay.
Yep. Things can move around and like twist and contort in there, which also isn't good.
Right, because you're sending your ovaries into overdrive.
So you're under constant medical observation, basically.
So what's that, like every 2 days or 3 days?
Every 2 or 3 days, you're going in for ultrasounds, and it's a intrauterine ultrasound, which
is transvaginal.
Yeah. You're like, that's not fun either. Also, for someone who doesn't put things in there, it's like a lot.
You're like, what's happening?
You're just like, all right. And you just get used to, and I think another thing that people don't talk about when women get pregnant in general is how just open you have to be about your body.
Okay, can we stop for a second and talk about the text and how important it is? Because Courtney and I just had a conversation, and we'll get through this in a later episode.
No, at this point, we've announced it.
What?
Oh, are you talking about what I just went through?
Yeah.
You can. We can talk as if everyone knows.
Oh, okay.
This will be a second episode.
Oh, are you going to? Okay.
Yeah. So we can talk about it.
So Courtney's pregnant, and her and I have similar paths of like care, and one of them was going in for the very first ultrasound, and the lady there was, I will just say this lightly, right? She was so rude,
literally.
So like,
I'm so sorry.
Well, and I think like too, when you have a child, like prime example, having childcare is so hard, especially in the state of Tennessee. I don't know why, but just like finding good people. It doesn't exist. Finding good people that you care, that you are okay with having your child, finding the time to do anything. So a lot of times you're bringing your child to your appointments with you, and that shouldn't be a problem considering this is their family and this is a family process.
Right.
And both of us had the experience of the same woman
Yes.
saying to us, is she going to be quiet? Are they going to be quiet? And I'm like,
same
holy
woman.
crap. But then wouldn't address you, wouldn't show you the screen. So I'm only going back to that experience of like feeling.
Oh, y'all.
Like
it was bad.
It is. So I think at this point when we're talking about your transvaginal, especially like IVF, it is pregnancy, and the journey of pregnancy is such a vulnerable state for a woman to be in that like, unfortunately, like, okay, like your DMV people, you guys can have a bad day. Like, I get it. It sucks. But when you are in charge of somebody like who is so anxious about seeing their baby for the first time, or so anxious about getting pregnant, like you're not allowed to have a bad day. Like you hide it for a second, right? Because that person, in your case, they made her feel that something was wrong with the baby by how they treated her.
Yeah.
In my case, they made me feel like I was a complete burden.
Sorry.
Okay.
Right?
It's all good.
And you're saying like, hey, look, I'm coming here 2-3 times a day, or 2-3, like, in hopes of having this this journey that I'm paying for, but also the most exciting journey of my life. You got to have like the professionals around you that are making you feel welcome. It's already scary, and what's the word? Like, it's already like,
It's delicate.
It's delicate.
It's so delicate.
So delicate.
Like, you don't even realize sometimes how delicate it is until you're in those situations.
Well,
and you're
sometimes
just like,
I don't realize how delicate I am until I was in the situation. I will say all of the care that I received was top notch.
That's amazing.
Mean, there were days that we were like so upset that things weren't moving the way we wanted, and I'm crying, and people are bringing in waters and let me shuffle you to this back room without you having to see. I mean, I had phenomenal care.
That's amazing because I mean, well, one, being a Black woman, and two, being a woman in a 2-mom group. Like, I was always wondering how your care went because I've heard horror stories,
and I think that is something that I wish that people in my situation talked about a little bit more. And I mean, it's obviously like, thank you guys for giving me the space to talk about it, because here in Tennessee, I will never change doctors. I will stay where my OB will be my OB forever. She is amazing. Everyone in her office is amazing. We just went to an appointment in December to kind of talk about like the state of things and what happens if and when we start trying for number 2. And like all the girls from the front desk got up and came and gave us hugs. Oh my gosh, we're so excited. Look how big Vincent is, because Vincent is at appointments with us too. We don't, I've left her with my mom once.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
In 2 years. Like we don't.
Yeah.
We
just talk about our generation of parents.
We just don't
more
leave her,
often
but
than
that's
not,
us thing.
our generation is, I feel like I find more parents like that than not.
Yes.
I'm that same person. Right? Like, I'm bringing my baby to a podcast. Like, the only reason why I have the other toddler is because you have care for them to be together. Right.
Right.
Like, it is
personalized care.
It is personal. Right. And we're paying for it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but it is such a weird thing that I feel like, maybe because like we were I was the baby that was like 60 hours a week with other people that I'm like, I want to be with my kids because I wanted my mom.
My mom raised me by herself, and then even when my stepdad came into the picture, my mom was working 2 full-time jobs, and I was the caregiver to my siblings. Like it's just something that I personally have made a choice in, that she will be with me or my wife.
Great. Thankfully we have the privilege to do that.
Yep.
But I will say, like, I don't know if I could do it any other way. I think I would absolutely.
So that's a whole nother podcast, Brittany.
But anyway, so continue. So you guys have now. Thankfully you've had a great experience with the care, and you've gone through how many. You went through 1 round of IVF.
Yep. So we did 1 egg retrieval. So that's, again, they go in through the vagina and they take it's like a little long skinny needle, and they just remove all of the eggs. And when you come out of your egg retrieval, you've got X amount of eggs.
And you don't know until you get there.
Nope, you don't know until you get there.
And this is just eggs. So we're not even talking about conception yet.
Yep.
How, from the time that you started the process to this, how much time has passed?
Like the total process or just IVF?
Just getting to just IVF. So you guys said, hey, we're going to start IVF and the egg retrieval. How long was that?
It's about 6 weeks of time. So I had to do a couple weeks of birth control, which I have never been on birth control regularly.
So why birth control?
I had to do that to my surgery too.
To level out hormones. Or that's what they say. I don't. I don't take hormonal birth control. I'm not a advocate of hormonal birth control. Right. But it's to level things out. And I'll tell you, that was the craziest. I literally had to pull over at a gas station once and call Suze to come get me, because I was like, I'm going to run my car.
This is another conversation for another day. But can you imagine being a teenager doing that same thing?
Yep.
Because we talk about teenage. My sister is 18, and we were talking. I went home to my high school, And my high school teacher said the amount of suicide that is happening in our teens now is
And I was on
wild.
it for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And wanted to drive my car into oncoming traffic.
And you're not going through any other hormonal changes besides matrescence.
Nope. And I, and I I totally knew that it was illogical, and I couldn't quite pinpoint what was happening at the time. Like, why do I feel this way? What is happening? And the only thing that I can...
And you're mature enough to be able to recognize that. Like, if
exactly.
Like,
and that's
if
what I'm
you're
saying.
18, 16,
or
15 years
going
old.
in school and you're fighting with your best friend and you're getting on your period, or, you know, like something happened in school, you got an
and
F.
your boyfriend's talking to someone else.
Right.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
don't,
how do you...
can't correlate that to
No.
your birth control.
No.
You're thinking that everything around you is literally
Everyone's
crashing.
Well, you're also taught, and like kind of you said, like it's supposed to regulate your hormones, and really it's not doing that.
And I mean, I don't know about you guys growing up, but when I was in high school, it would help you with your acne.
Right.
It would help you regulate your weight.
It would
Because
make your
why were they
periods
talking
less.
to us about our weight at 15 and 16 years old? Anyway, but...
I was just talking to her about that because I said it's so funny that the cosmopolitan teenagers, which we were, right? The
Victoria, I like the Victoria's Secret.
The Victoria's Secret teenagers that we were are now the Ozempic millennials.
Yep.
You know, we are still so obsessed with weight loss.
Yep.
It just is ingrained in us now.
Yeah.
So you do the 2 weeks of birth control, and then it's about a month of hormones to mature the eggs. And then you've got the egg retrieval. So immediately upon your eggs come out, they go in a dish. I don't know, whatever they go into.
They bring the vial.
Yep, they bring, so you just need 1 vial of sperm for IVF, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But the IVF vials are more expensive than the IUI vials.
Why?
It's
the same vial.
No, they wash the sperm for IVF. So it's not, I guess, like when a man ejaculates, there's like other stuff in there besides just the swimmers.
Oh, okay.
So for IVF, you truly just need
The swimmers.
the swimmers.
Okay.
So then they go over to the specialist who
And how
is
much more expensive would you say?
a couple hundred.
Okay.
So, you know, if you're paying $2,000 at this point, what's
Yeah.
$2,200?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounded very flippant.
No,
but I meant it in a
but
jokey
it makes
way.
sense. Yeah.
So then the specialist is removing 1 sperm from the vial, and they're looking at it to make sure motility is correct. They're picking the healthiest sperm, and then inserting 1 into each egg.
Wow.
And then over a week, you know, some are, okay, this one fertilized. This one is now at this stage of blastocyst. This one is now at this stage. But they don't tell you until the end of like your 6-day period or whatever how many embryos you were able to create.
So for a week, you're just in anxiety land.
I mean, you're calling. They're like, we'll let you know when we know something. and especially first time, you know, if I had maybe had to do more than 1 round of IVF, I think that I probably would have been able to chill out a little more. But I'm very...
Let's if you don't mind, let's talk about your age, right?
Yeah.
How old were you when you started the project?
30 when we started.
Okay. And so it gets harder as you get older, right? So like a lot of our age people at 35 are thinking about egg retrieval, and the older you are, the less eggs you have. Right?
Yep.
And so I think that's important in your process too, is like, hey, you were technically in the IVF world much younger. Yeah.
And that was like a whole another bit of it just mentally for me too. You know, your whole teenage and early 20s, they're like, don't go near sperm, you will get pregnant. And then the one time in my life, I'm like, get me pregnant.
Yeah.
It's not working. And so, you know, you're just...
Yeah, we talked about this because her fertility journey was much like mine. Of you know, baby number 1 was easy because she was unplanned, and I remember going into baby number 2 and we were 6 months, about 6 to 7 months before we got really pregnant, right? And I was so upset because I was like, I thought this was supposed to be so easy because we came from, you know, the Catholic guilt of like, you even look at sperm, you're going to get pregnant. And, you know, my family's like, we sneeze and we get pregnant. And I was like, here I am not getting pregnant.
Yeah.
And no one's taking into account that like, it's actually really hard to catch that.
Hard.
In IUI land for, you know, like IVF, I can't imagine, but you have to time it correctly. The stars have to align.
The healthiest sperm has to be picked out.
So like, and the egg has to accept it.
Yes.
We are forgetting the fact that there is biology at play here.
Yeah.
And your egg could be like, nah, no, not today.
Yeah.
Which, like, thank God my eggs were very choosy gals. But
how many did you end up with?
we ended up with like 30 eggs.
Okay.
Around 30 eggs. I can't remember now because it's been
I
so
just
long.
imagine like Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like
Kind
your
of.
little anemone.
And then we had 12 embryos that were
wow.
created, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like so many
That's a-
people get one,
Yeah,
maybe
or two. Yeah.
So we were, it was almost truly like my eggs were just being choosy in the early days. And
Yeah. And
what
then-
was meant for us happened for us when it was
That's
supposed
amazing.
to.
So these 12 embryos, and how did Vince
Become
Vince?
Yeah. So we elected to get our embryos tested. I come from a family who doesn't like to talk about anything when it comes to fertility or how the babies came to be, losses, anything like that. And most of the when you're trying to get pregnant, when you are studying fertility, which we are studying fertility when we're trying to make these angels, you learn that a lot of times losses occur because there is some genetic anomaly with
Right.
the embryo.
Again, we keep forgetting biology is at play.
Yep.
And your body will eject something that doesn't feel it belongs, right?
Correct.
Because at this point in the traditional sense of pregnancy, you've now connected.
Yep.
And you have to implant. And implantation, and I don't think PJ says this, and I'm saying it to be funny. It's not how I mean it, but basically he calls the baby like a little parasite, but it truly is in the sense of now you have this what would be a foreign body in your body has to find its way down the uterine wall and implant, and all the while the hostile environment of the uterus is what the is inside of me, get it out, right?
Yep.
And so biology is super huge here, and I think that's when we start talking about why IVF is a little controversial. People don't realize electing to that is saying if you were to do some of them that maybe tested not well, it wouldn't have ended up in a viable pregnancy.
Exactly.
Right.
So we we decided to get our embryos genetically tested. And when they test, they're taking a tiny little bit of matter from the embryo and sending it to the lab or whatever to test for. It's 300 anomalies. So it truly tests from everything from I don't know, eczema on one end to Down syndrome in the spectrum of things that they could possibly find in the embryo. And while those results matter to some people, they didn't matter to us. We just wanted to make sure that we were using the highest grade.
Right.
So you get a grade for your embryos, A, B, C, and then there are numbers attached to those as well. Well, thankfully, all of ours came back very high graded.
That's amazing.
Wow, that's amazing.
So we got to choose from, here's another little side tidbit tangent. So the IVF package that we paid for tests 8 embryos. So technically we had over the amount. So only 8 of our embryos got genetically tested.
Okay,
4 didn't.
Right. So you don't know the other 4.
No, we don't know anything about the other 4. But all of our 8 got very high grades. 1 was inconclusive, but our doctors kind of explained that you could probably assume that it's similar.
Right.
It just
all the other ones did well. Yeah.
But I wasn't trying to have 8 kids at once, so that that's the bottom. That's the least of our concerns.
Kaylee and Sue's +8.
Yeah. Well, if we're gonna get a show on TLC, by all means, I'll do it. I'll do
You
it.
still have them frozen.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So
Yeah.
she could still do that.
Yeah, we could still do that. So we did end up finding gender, which that's one of the things that people find very controversial. Although I've heard stories of people who had 3 girls and just really wanted a boy. So they do IVF to have a boy,
Right.
which obviously wasn't the case for us. We were just trying to get one healthy baby.
Right.
And so you could talk about that kind of stuff for days. As an oldest girl, and I am one girl, I have 2 brothers. Susan and I we went on vacation and we had a long kind of chit chat about it. We ended up with 5 boys, 2 girls, 1 inconclusive. And because we only had 2 female embryos, we decided to try for a girl first.
Okay. And so does one embryo at a time, or do they? Okay.
So that can differ for people. So at my age, and because I hadn't had you kind of have, it's individualized at each clinic. Our doctor wasn't comfortable doing more than one embryo at my age and my low number of pregnancy losses. So a lot of times if you are maybe older and you only get 3 embryos, they would be more likely to do multiple.
And that's how you get the twins.
And that's how you get
Or triplets in my friend's case.
Well,
Oh, wow.
there is a percentage of higher chance for twins with IVF in general, but it's not enough. It wasn't a concern for us at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then now how much time has passed?
So now it's been 6 weeks since the egg since we started hormones for the egg retrieval.
Right.
Now your embryos have to mature for X amount of days.
Okay.
And I don't really remember.
So probably like another week or so.
Another week or so. But now you have to start the progesterone. So you have to basically get your body to think that it's pregnant before you even do an embryo transfer.
Interesting.
All right, Mama, real quick before we keep going, if you've ever thought, why isn't this diet working for me? Or why do I always feel tired even when I'm doing everything right? It could come down to your genetics. That's why we love MaxGen Labs. Their at-home genetic tests help you understand how your body works, like how you process food, how you detox, what vitamins you actually need, and even your fitness tendencies. It takes all of the guesswork and helps you make choices that actually fit your body. And here's the best part. Just for being a Truth Moms listener, you get 10% off any test. Just head to maxgenlabs.com and use the code TruthMoms at checkout. Again, that's TruthMoms for 10% off because knowing your body is the first step to feeling your best. All right, back to the show.
So the fastest and like best way to insert progesterone into your body is
Suppository?
no, needle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Suppository.
Well, we were talking
Well,
about
we
it
were
before,
talking about
'cause-
yeah. It's an
You
option.
can put, really?
Yeah. Yep.
Progesterone in your butt?
Well, or your other part, I think. Not up the butt.
suppository makes me think of butt.
Oh, yeah, but you can put suppositories in any orifice.
Oh, I suppose.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay,
I
yeah.
suppose
Wait, what did you
suppository
say?
Into your vagina.
Oh,
I
okay,
just
okay,
always
okay.
imagined,
No, I thought that when you said that to me earlier.
Oh, no,
that you
not
were like,
in
I
your
was like,
butt.
in her butt. I was like,
Not in your
I
butt.
mean, maybe.
Not in your butt.
So suppository's definition doesn't just mean in the butt.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, I did not know that.
You learn something every
Yeah,
day.
I
Like I have a friend who did suppositories because her progesterone was a little better than mine. Mine was very low, so
Yeah.
I did injections. So you're doing weeks of progesterone injections, and then you're getting blood drawn every other day to see where your levels are. And
I'm
it's
going through that right now.
and it's not until you get I mean, my arms. I literally looked like a junkie because
Yeah.
your arms are just so bruised. You're getting so many needles for so long, and then once you hit the right level,
Right.
that's when they do the embryo transfer.
Oh, okay. So this is all before.
Yep. So this is all before.
So they're holding and waiting until
Correct.
you hit it.
So we started IVF process in August. My embryo transfer was on November 3rd.
So 3 months. Wow. Okay, and then is that when the needles start, or
No. So the needles start before the transfer.
Okay, and how
That's
many
during, like, the
needles?
hormones.
I couldn't count them. Oh my God. Hundreds.
So you're getting blood drawn.
Yeah.
You're injecting needles.
Yeah.
And you're injecting progesterone.
Yeah.
Wow.
For weeks and months. And then once you do the transfer, we were lucky enough to get pregnant. You continue the progesterone. My last progesterone shot was Christmas Eve. So
Okay, so for
transfer
like a
was
month.
on November 3rd and last one was Christmas Eve,
Okay. And then she was born when?
June.
Oh. Okay, so like basically after the first trimester,
Yep.
you're okay
Yeah.
to not have to take any more injections.
I mean, as long as
Oh,
your
so just- wait.
progesterone is where it's supposed to be. I think there are women who kind of take
So
progesterone.
does the egg mature to about 3 months? I'm doing math in my head.
Embryo.
Oh, the embryo. Yes.
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
Yep.
Embryo, and then he transfers. Okay,
Not necessarily 3 months, because like a 3-month-old embryo
Yeah.
is like
Yeah.
it's like a baby.
Yeah, you're probably 8 to 9 weeks.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So at
You're gummy
transfer,
bear.
you're like, you're weeks pregnant.
Okay.
So technically, Vincent's due date was July. So that would have been November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. Yeah, so you're like a month pregnant at the time of transfer.
I was like, whoa, that's kind of crazy.
But it's not necessarily like that is like if you got pregnant and conceived naturally and you did an ultrasound of what a 4-week-old fetus would look like, it's not like it looks like that when it's going into you. It's however the science works. I really don't understand the like specifics of that.
Yeah.
But obviously it's just like a blastocyst.
My question is the ones that are on ice, how do they not, how are you stopping?
Yeah, that
from progressing
is like
boggles my mind.
Like
Do you know what I mean?
a question for a scientist because I do not understand it at all.
Because I would be like, essentially, if that's inside of you, it's now growing.
Yeah.
So how does it
I have no clue how it just stops in time. Because I read an article the other day of someone who transferred an embryo that was from like the 80s or something. It had been on ice for so long.
Right.
That's
you would assume something would happen.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Either it goes away or it's progressing. So that's just wild. It can just stop time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you have at home at the cryo you have 11 now. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so will you guys are thinking about trying again?
Yeah, we're thinking about number 2. We don't know if that will be this year, next year.
Yeah.
But you're paying for them to be stored
right
every year. And that's something that has been pretty scary here in Tennessee.
Right. Because are they stored here in Tennessee for you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So like politically, we just, and our IVF clinic has been phenomenal at staying in touch with us. Just with the current, I hate saying the word political climate. It's such a drag.
It is what it is, though.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
So you're, for now, they're being stored here. There is an option to send them other places, but I feel most comfortable having them here.
Yeah.
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 How many more would you go for, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard because like this morning, Vince was running around, wouldn't listen at all. And I was like, ooh, you're the perfect only child.
Yes.
And then you come and see a baby for 30 seconds and you're like, I want 6.
Yeah. I'm the same. I'm the same way. Would you, because you have such healthy eggs or blastocysts at this point, when you are finished, what do you do then? Would you donate those?
So it's something that we kind of go back and forth on a lot. It's been, it's just a heavy conversation.
Yeah, 1,000%.
I also think I'm going to try to be as like politically correct as I can here talking about it. So I'm really just going to speak from my experience and my feelings about it. I don't view our embryos as our kids. However, once you have a child, at least for me, once Vincent was born, it is hard for me to sort of separate that those could be our babies.
Right.
So if you would have asked me before I had Vincent, I would have told you that there are a lot of women of color who struggle to be able to afford fertility treatments. There are a lot of women of color who need fertility treatments, and I would have been very likely, I think, to donate our embryos. Mm-hmm. At this point, I don't feel that way. I feel like those are, again, they are potential siblings to my daughter.
Right.
And so whatever we don't use, we will, I'm going to use the word discard. They use the word destroy. I think it just means that they like thaw them out and don't use them.
Right.
And then they're medically disposed of.
Right.
But destroy sounds really
I
sad.
don't like that.
I don't like that word. I don't even like the word kennel for a dog. I'm like, going to bed. So yeah, I think that we will keep them on ice until we make a final decision, and probably years after we've made a decision, just in case.
Right. And I'm listening to you even say like you're like, hold on, let me explain how I view it. Mm-hmm. It is such a pregnancy in general, fertility in general is such a vulnerable topic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it really is like, this is why I have a hard time when even I'm sure when this episode comes out, people are going to have their feelings about it because everybody has their issues with IVF and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, like you paid for this experience because you wanted a baby so bad.
Badly.
Right.
This is truly your choice. This is what choice looks like,
Yes.
you know? And it's hard for some people to like understand that, but like it is just as emotional for you to
If
talk.
not more.
Like, well, I agree because
you
this is your body.
I cannot imagine as a woman who has had a child telling someone how they could or could not experience this.
Exactly.
So whether or not I have,
oh, sorry,
you in parenting, there are all of the.
my kid just shit.
Oh, was that what I thought it was just cooing.
Yeah, I thought she was just making noises.
Sorry. In parenting, what?
I think that there are so many ways that you could do something and that I could do something. And I'll tell you, I'll be the first to admit, before I had kids, I probably passed a lot of judgment on decisions that other people made for their own kids. And at this point, I'm like, they're happy, they're healthy, great.
And we've said this a million times. As long as like, I know what abuse is.
Yes.
Right? Like, as long as that we're not running down that road, you have this is your journey.
Yeah.
Every kid deserves a roof over their head. Every kid deserves food to eat as long as those things are happening. Clothes on their back.
Right. And you can, and here's the thing. We can easily say like, I won't do IVF.
Yeah.
I personally don't need it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I can't appreciate and respect your journey.
Yeah. Right? And I think, and like I said, it's like you can run that road down every single aspect of parenting. And I'm talking like from parents who only put their kids in organic clothes, parents who feed organic foods, vaccinations, every single thing.
There's so much for people to judge about
Public
parenthood
school,
and how you do it.
private school,
Right.
daycare,
Nowadays,
not
crazy.
daycare.
Right.
There's so many differences that we can focus on, or we can all just focus on
Happy, healthy.
healthy kids.
Yeah. That's well said.
Quick break to tell you about something we're genuinely loving in our homes, Truly Free. If you have been meaning to swap out your toxic laundry detergent for something safer, this is your moment. When you grab their laundry bundle, you get 300 loads for free, plus a laundry machine cleaner and a refillable jug. Everything you need to make the switch easy. Truly Free's formulas are non-toxic, plant-based, and safe for your family. No junk, no harsh chemicals, just products that work in a company that actually cares. Head to the show notes or the link in our Instagram bio to claim your free 300 loads and make your first clean swap with Truly Free.
Yeah.
Wow. I also just want to say this podcast would not be a thing without you. Did you know that?
What do you mean?
So you hired me at Uncommon James.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have met Brittany. And then
You
we wouldn't even have
guys.
this. Yeah.
How serendipitous.
I know.
Full circle moment.
Full
Isn't
circle.
that funny?
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Kaylee.
Thank you for
Wait,
having me.
I have one more question.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. This is so outside of IVF. Talk to me about one thing that because I do want to talk about the fact that you are a 2-mom family.
Yeah.
And you are in the South.
Yeah.
And have you experienced any differences or just something that people might assume about your family that you want to like just put out there? Because I feel like we don't get to have conversations with moms all like we're just starting this and you're the first mom and I want to learn something from each mom. And you do come from a corner that we're not familiar with, right?
Yeah.
You know?
I will say, and again, this is all such an individual basis, you know. We have surrounded ourselves with people who have only been phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think that we live in a very progressive city here in Nashville. And I think that for the most part, like we've never had anyone be outwardly rude or question, you know, whose kid is that when they're with Sue's or what's going on.
Right.
Like I said, from a medical standpoint, everyone, you guys are both the parents. Both people deserve to be here. Full welcoming, everyone very welcoming from that aspect. I will say you get the occasional like Vincent's very tall for her age.
Yeah.
Like she's almost she's like the size of River at 3. It's incredible. She's huge. And so people will often, if I'm alone with her, they'll often ask like, what's her dad look like? How tall is her dad? And we just say, or I just say, you know, she has a donor, not a dad. And we know how tall he was, because obviously we saw the paperwork, but it's not something that we feel comfortable disclosing to people.
Right.
If she wants to disclose that at some point in her life, whatever. So I usually sort of pivot and just say, my dad's over 6 feet. I've got an uncle that's over 6 feet.
And
I'm tall.
Yeah, that's what I would never ask somebody.
Yeah. But it's mostly older people who ask that anyway.
Yeah.
Like no one our age. I'm not asking, even if you've got blue eyes, I'm not like, why does your son have blue eyes? You just don't.
Right.
We don't really talk like that to each other. Or, I've got curly hair. She's got curly. She also looks just like me, which is
she does.
Yeah.
It was like one of those
literally
things.
is a copy paste.
Yeah.
When she was born, so I had to have a C-section. When she was born, our doctor lifted her over the little like canopy.
Yeah.
I was literally like, "Oh God, thank you. She looks like me." But we really have had a beautiful parenting experience here.
Do you think that it comes from your self-advocation? Because I feel like you have
100
never been, like knowing you've never been scared of saying like what you need and what you want.
Yeah.
And so I'm not, I want to say this to any woman, but particularly,
Oh, tell us, honey.
Oh, sure. Okay. I want to say this to every woman because, I went through some things where I feel like I wasn't advocated for, but also just in marginalized groups in general, is that if you can find it, right? And that you're a testament
100%.
to like the fact that you had great experiences, like they're out there. You just have to
keep looking. If
looking.
you have a bad experience, go somewhere else. Get a second opinion always. Also, if you're around people who are don't be around people.
Yeah, it's that easy.
I have always been
the people pleaser in me finds that hard.
I get it. And I just am not a people pleaser. Like I have always marched to the beat of my own drum. I have always been very direct, this is what is going to happen, especially when it comes to my person and like my family. Yeah. There's a lot of the like legalities that we had to go through that a lot of people don't have to necessarily have at like the forefront of their minds.
Oh yeah, like Suze had to become a legal parent.
Yes.
Right?
So obviously Suze was there for delivery. Suze signed the birth certificate. One of the unfortunate things in all of the U.S. is that whether it's mother, father, mother, father, Suze her name is under father on Vincent's birth certificate. Like they just don't change it here, which is a fight for another day. Obviously, I'm an advocate for the LGBT community. I'm an advocate for all people. But some fights I just can't fight. I can't fight all the fights on all fronts at all the time. Right. So that was one thing that we just sort of were like,
we'll make the step now and we'll work to fight it later.
Yeah, exactly. Suze did end up adopting Vincent as well, which is just a secondary precaution that our attorney suggested for us here in the South.
Yeah.
And most of that is to just protect Suze and Vincent, unfortunately. There are crazy people out there who one day want one thing and the next day you want another thing. I come from a single parent home. And so for me, one of the most important things in going into parenting was that Suze and I will always be parents together.
Right.
Neither one of us gets to bow out of this decision. So just protecting her legally to make sure that I could never run off with Vincent and say, well, you have no genetic tie to her, which is...
It happens.
It does happen.
So you're like, I know you would never, but it happens. Right.
But it happens, yeah. And these are just, it's an icky thing to have to talk about. But so Suze did end up formally adopting Vincent right away. And we, those are processes that we started before she was even born. Right. So as soon as she was born, Suze was able to adopt her without a hitch. We also at that time, which this is just a PSA to all parents, I think everyone should get their will done and just have some steps in place. And we set up ours so that if anything happens to one of us, these are the steps that you would take. If anything happens to both of us, and we included both sides of our families for that, so that we did the money goes to one side and the kid goes to the other, so that at any point in Vincent's life, you guys are going to have to work together, even if something happened to Suze and I.
Yeah, Courtney was just doing that, and she sent me. I was like, it feels so scary to keep it.
Does.
You have to. You got to protect.
You have to protect them. So do it.
We'll have to talk about that another day, how to. But as far as people in the LGBT community who are having children, when we post this episode, we'll send some of the links, and we'd love for you. Because the one thing the reason why I was like, oh, we got to talk to Kaylee was when all of this was going down, you were very much like,
there's no there was so little information. I knew nothing.
Yeah, and she went through this whole process by herself. She's like, actually, if you need something, so she's definitely someone in that community that I feel like even I like learn from. And so we'll post all this stuff, and also some of the links for where to find that in your city or your state, just to make sure that, because at the end of the day, when you become a parent, you realize it is all about protecting your child. Protection looks like financial. It looks like legal. It looks like mental. It looks like emotional. Yep. And so when you are a parent who is looking protection on all fronts, like you should really have, because I'm in my postpartum journey, and just looking at like how to protect myself mentally is different. But like there should be so many resources out there, and unfortunately there isn't a lot. So
just so little. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
I had a horrible postpartum journey, so
we'll have to bring you back and talk about that, because when we all go through postpartum, we're going to interview a postpartum gal, and I would love to. I have so many questions as to why caring for postpartum is just not existent ever.
The most important person in a child's life at the most important and vulnerable time at both the mother and the child's life gets no support. No support.
None.
No.
It's crazy. No. It's crazy.
You have to laugh about it or you will go
cry.
Crazy.
Yeah. No.
Yep.
Anyway, Kaylee, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're definitely going to ask you back on when we talk about postpartum, because it's something that's at the forefront of my mind, and I know you'll be there shortly. And so I think that just having moms, like I watch you all the time online. I'm like, you are a phenomenal mom.
Thank you.
You're a phenomenal
So are you
mom.
guys.
And
It's so fun. I feel so lucky to live in 2025 and have access to the internet. This is why I believe that it's such a beautiful thing that we get to create this community. It's
100%.
It's been the best season of my life so far, for sure.
And you can see it in Nancy's face. Like she's the happiest baby I've ever seen. And you know what? Like that's to you guys as parents, like amazing that these kids are walking through life feeling that I'm going to throw one at you. If your kid is the troubled kid, as far as like doesn't like to sit down or likes to explore, take that as a positive. That your child feels so safe in their environment that they feel like it's okay to explore because mom's got you. So kudos to you, Mom, and we'll see you guys on the next round.
Yay. Thank you, Kaylee.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Truth Moms. Remember, mamas, the truth starts at home.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It really helps us reach more moms like you, and plus, it's free.
Until next time, stay strong, stay curious, and we will keep dropping those truth bombs.